Sometimes you come across two things that just work together in perfect harmony. Like heated seats on a frosty morn, strawberries and cream, pineapple on pizza. Oh, controversial. I think I may have found another two. The Toyota Supra and a manual gearbox. You all know the Toyota Supra by now, but you don't know this one. The A90 Gen Supra is available with 3 pedals and a stick for the first time ever. But really, that's the side story. As well as giving us the manual option that the Supra has been crying out for, Toyota has retuned the dampers, the electric power steering, and the stiffness of the suspension bushes to unlock more dynamic sparkle. Right, first things first, this thing is cracking to drive. I know a Supra has always been a pretty decent steer, but every now and again it would just feel a bit remote or a bit like you're driving a GT rather than just an organic sports car. Now the changes that they've made to this hasn't taken away the core character of the car. Her personality is still there. But the little tweaks to the chassis and the manual gearbox just means that you drive it differently. You don't just stick it in drive and then go cruising and chuck it around some corners. No. You need to get stuck in. You get stuck in, you feel more connected to the car, you feel like you have more control of the car. And when you do that, when you get stuck in, that's when you notice that this gearbox is pretty blooming decent. Okay, so Toyota have spent a lot of time cherry picking little components to go into the ZF manual gearbox. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but they tested a load of different weights for the knob itself to make sure that it was just right. 200 grams this, 200 grams. And it is just right. It's short, it's precise. Yeah. It's actually better than BMWs that share the same drivetrain as this Supra. Ah, yes, BMW. Somehow, I'm not sure that the Supra's Z4-derived underpinnings matter as much today as they did when the car launched. With so many sports car manufacturers turning to all-electric these days, we have a lot of time for a straight 6-engined rear-wheel drive coupe with a manual gearbox, and it helps that the platform is actually quite competent. This car was never made to be a manual. What this particular one is, this is Toyota listening and responding to the customers that demanded the manual. Customers were like, this car needs to be a manual, it'll make it so much better. And Toyota listened and responded and went, okay, let's do it. And then they put a lot of time and effort into it and they absolutely blooming nailed it. That's what's happened. So this is only available as a turbocharged straight 6. The entry-level model presents a 38 kilogram weight saving, which might not sound like a lot, but actually it's the little tweaks that have been made to the chassis. That's what's made this car the best Supra of all of them. The best Supra of all the Supras in Supra land. Can I also give a shout out to the pedals? Because sometimes in a sports car they're quite close together, aren't they? But the spacing on the pedals are pretty good. And I'm not saying that because I have dainty lady feet. Because actually a lot of the blokes at Auto Express have also driven this thing. And they've also commented on the nice spacing of the pedals. So yes. Traction is very strong. Handling is very good. Feels very well balanced. The steering feels a bit crisper, actually. Like a bit more accurate, a bit more direct. Yeah. And this is a bit softer than other sports cars. So actually, if you are looking for something that is going to be a fun little day-to-day that can deal with our great British bumpy roads, this does a decent job of it. It does. One thing I do want to say, which is a bit of a shame, is that the engine in this isn't like a high revving super sharp engine. So when you're sat inside the car, it feels a bit muted at times, like it doesn't sing right at the top end. But I can tell you, mid-range, the performance is there. It has got some oomph behind it. We've got 335 brake horsepower and a 0 to 62 time of 4.6 seconds. So it goes. You put your foot down, it goes. I mean, it's not bristling with feel. Like a Porsche Cayman is a bit more exciting, a bit more communicative. But this ain't shabby at all. This is good. This is, dare I say it? I'm gonna say it. This car is super duper. Oh, hang on. The tweaks have injected some more life into the package though, to the point where if you wanted something with a different character to the mid-engined Cayman or Alpine A110, the Supra isn't a bad bet. It does have one problem though. The BMW M2. The next-gen M2 will be more powerful, more practical, and also available with a manual. But for some, the Supra will be just about good enough to rely on its individuality and style. Because, let's face it, it looks pretty special, doesn't it? One place where you do really appreciate the BMW connection is in the interior. I mean, it's not mega spectacular in here, but what it is it's really well built, really well put together. The switchgear is taken from BMW, the infotainment is taken from BMW, which we all know is one of the most intuitive on the market. So look, I'm not suggesting that suddenly the Toyota Supra is one of the best sports cars out there, but what I am saying is for the few days that I've had this thing, I've completely fallen in love with it. I really have. I feel connected to it now. There's just something about it, and I think it's just another two things, isn't it, that's just worked together in perfect harmony. The Toyota Supra and Nicola Hume. I don't want to give it back. That's the downside of this job. The upside is that you get to drive lots of different cars and have a great time. The downside is having to give them back. I'm going to keep this forever. Whee!